Hello gamers and welcome back to the channel. Today we are putting a 10-year-old GPU to the ultimate test with 10 popular games. Can this once legendary beast still hold its own in 2024, or is it finally time to retire it? Whether you're a budget gamer looking for hidden gems or just here for the nostalgia, you are in for a treat. Let's dive in and see if this old powerhouse still has some fight left in it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Come on guys, we are almost at 1,200 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button. Let's go. I can safely assume most of you have already guessed the GPU from the titles, but for those who haven't cracked the clues yet, we are talking about the NVIDIA GTX 980. Launched back in 2014 with an MSRP of $500, this card was an absolute beast in its prime. Equipped with 4GB of VRAM, 2048 CUDA cores, and a 1204 MHz base clock speed, it was more than enough for 1080p and even 1440p gaming at that time. If you were feeling bold, you could even dip your toes into 4K gaming, though with a few sacrifices. A year and a half later, it was succeeded by the GTX 980 Ti, which packed even more horsepower. You know, it was a bit more powerful than the non-Ti version, basically. Well, fast forward to today and you can snag a GTX 980 for as little as $50, while the Ti version goes for around $100, though you could find some for less. The real question is, does this once legendary GPU still have something to offer in 2024, or is it time to leave it in the past? Let's fire it up and find out. Subscribe. We are almost at 1,200 subscribers. Come on guys, let's push it out there. Thank you. We kicked off our testing with Ghost of Tsushima running at 1080p low settings with frame generation enabled. The GTX 980 pushed a respectable 60 to 80 FPS, smooth, responsive and free of input lag or frame skipping. This was a relief, especially since combat in this game relies so heavily on precision and timing. Thankfully, every slash, parry and dodge felt on point. Now, let's talk about visuals. Even on low settings, the game is a visual masterpiece. The sweeping feels, dynamic lighting, and intricate details left me stunned. I was almost tempted to try high settings, but I quickly realized my decade-old GPU might stage a revolt or perhaps catch fire. Still, the immersive world and top-tier visual fidelity on low settings alone made me want to sink hours into this game. For comparison, turning off frame generation brought us down to about 30 to 40 FPS, while it's still playable but definitely less fluid. Overall, the GTX 980 handled Ghost of Tsushima impressively well. It's clear this 10-year-old card still has some samurai spirit left in it. Next up, we swung into action with SPIDERMAN Remastered. Testing it at 1080p medium settings, the GTX 980 delivered a solid performance, maintaining about 50 to 80 FPS throughout our playthrough. During intense combat, the frame rate stayed within 60 to 80 FPS, providing a smooth experience even in the heat of battle. However, when roaming the open world, the frames dipped to about 50 to 60 FPS, but these dips were not enough to break the immersion or make the gameplay feel choppy. Despite being on medium settings, the graphical fidelity was very much impressive. The reflection on buildings, the bustling street, and the sheer speed and fluidity of swinging through New York City all added layers of immersion that make the experience feel far beyond what we expected for a medium setting setup. It was clear that the GTX 980 was punching above its weight, managing to deliver both solid performance and immersive visuals. The level of details in the environment combined with the smoothness of the gameplay made this a truly enjoyable experience. Even with the minor dips in the open world, the gameplay never felt sluggish and combat remained responsive. Overall, SPIDERMAN Remastered isn't just playable on the GTX 980, it's downright enjoyable. This 10-year-old GPU is still proving it can handle modern games with style, delivering a heroic performance that any budget gamer can appreciate. God of War Ragnarok at 1080p low settings gave us a smooth 60 FPS experience. The GTX 980 didn't just stick to 60 FPS, in fact it often exceeded that mark, showing it still has some juice left in the tank. However, the real story here is the consistency of that 60 FPS. While the frame rate did occasionally dip below 60 FPS, it didn't drop to the point where it became frustrating or game breaking, just something to keep in mind when I was testing. Throughout our test, there were no issues with input lag or frame skipping, which kept the gameplay feel responsive and smooth. Whether battling enemies or exploring the world, the experience remained enjoyable with no noticeable stutter or delays. As for the visuals, well, They were definitely pared down to the low settings. They weren't anything to scoff at. The game still looked good with enough details to immerse you in the world of Midgard and beyond. The lower graphical fidelity didn't distract from the overall experience, and it's impressive that the GTX 980 can still handle this kind of games at reasonable levels. So, while the GTX 980 didn't consistently hit 60 FPS, it still delivered a solid and enjoyable performance that shows this 10-year-old GPU still has some fight left in it. It's a great option for those who want to enjoy God of War Ragnarok without breaking the bank or upgrading to latest hardware. Lies of P at 1080p medium settings yielded a solid 70 to 80 FPS, which was more than enough to keep the gameplay smooth and responsive. During our testing, there were no issues with input lag or frame skipping, ensuring a seamless experience throughout. The visuals in these games were top-notch, with a great level of details in the environment, character models, and of course, lighting. The level of details truly added to the overall immersion, making the world feel alive and engaging. As someone who is a fan of Elden Ring and Remnant from the Ashes, I've got to say, Lies of P really scratched that same itch. The dark immersive atmosphere combined with tight combat and strategic gameplay made this game a real pleasure to benchmark. It's a perfect blend of the mechanics that make those other games great while still offering its own unique twist. If you are into challenging atmospheric action RPGs, Lies of P delivers an experience that's both visually satisfying and mechanically engaging, all while running smoothly on the GTX 980. The level of details and immersive gameplay made it a game I would definitely be going back to in the future. The Emperor protects. But let's hope we can protect this old GPU from the demands of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. We tested the game on low settings with FSR quality enabled, and the GTX 980 managed to deliver a 40 to 50 FPS with the occasional dips down to around 30 FPS. During our testing, we encountered no input lag or frame skipping, though there was some micro frame stuttering here and there. However, it wasn't enough to pull you out of the game's immersion. In fact, I only noticed it because I was specifically looking for it. Visually, the game held up pretty well considering the low settings preset. It's definitely not going to win any beauty pageants, but for a budget-conscious gamer like myself, it's more than good enough. The level of details was solid enough to make the experience enjoyable, and honestly, didn't feel like I was missing out on anything major. Overall, Space Marine 2 proved that this 10-year-old GPU can still handle intense action games, even if the visuals aren't cutting edge. It's a fun playable experience that makes it clear that the GTX 980 still has some fight left in it, or as you could say, Emperor protects. I know it didn't make sense. I just wanted to say something. No. I hope you enjoyed this little bit. Testing Elden Ring on 1080p medium settings gave us a solid 60 FPS with only a few minor dips down to 56 FPS. The performance was both smooth overall with no input lag or frame skipping, which are two of the biggest factors that break immersion in a game. The level of details in Elden Ring was very solid. Even at medium settings, the environment, character design, and atmospheric effects really shine through, showcasing the care the developers put into making the world feel alive. The open world felt massive and rich in details with the of the landscape and the character models, adding layers of depth to the experience. I've got to hand it to the developers. The environmental storytelling in Elden Ring is one of its great standout features. Even on medium settings, it's easy to get lost in the world and forget you are playing on a 10-year-old GPU. The game remains visually impressive while maintaining solid performance, proving that the GTX 980 is still capable of delivering an enjoyable experience in 2024. Borderlands 3 at 1080p low settings was a fantastic showcase of the GTX 980's full potential. During the close quarters combat, we were hitting around 80 to 100 FPS, and during open world combat and exploration, the frame rate stayed between 60 to 80 FPS. This performance was solid, allowing for a smooth, enjoyable experience throughout. There were no input lag or frame skipping issues during our testing, which is a big win for maintaining immersion in such a fast-paced, action-heavy game. The visual fidelity was immersive as well, with clear textures and vibrant colors that brought the unique art style of Borderlands 3 to life. The game's cartoonish look, combined with sharp textures, made for a visually striking experience, proving that the GTX 980 is still capable of delivering a visually engaging performance in 2024. If you are considering gaming on a budget or want to see just how much this 10-year-old GPU can still deliver, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more gaming benchmarks. Let me know in the comments what game you want me to test next on the GTX 980. Well, you guys never do let me know, so I don't know if anybody's gonna say anything, but hey, I said something. Sekiro Shadow Die Twice was tested on 1080p max settings, and the GTX 980 delivered a constant 60 FPS with no dips, providing a smooth and immersive experience. Throughout our testing, there was no input lag or frame skipping, ensuring that the fast-paced combat and fluid movement remained uninterrupted. The gameplay was both smooth and engaging, making the experience feel incredibly immersive. As for the visuals, the level of details was impressive. The textures were well defined and the environment were beautifully crafted, with rich atmospheric settings that made the world of Sekiro feel alive and full of depth. Even on the max settings, the GTX 980 proved it can handle demanding games like Sekiro, offering great performance and stunning visuals. If you are a fan of challenging action games and want to see how well this 10-year-old GPU can hold up, well, I mean, make sure to hit the like button, I guess. Alright. Let's see what this GPU can still do in 2024, shall we? Resident Evil Village at 1080p with graphic priority gave us a solid 60 to 90 FPS throughout our testing. There were some minor dips here and there, but it never dropped below 58 FPS, ensuring a mostly smooth experience. Although the VRAM was exceeded during the test, we didn't encounter any frame skip or input lags, which is a great sign of optimization. Now, let's talk about the visuals. Resident Evil Village absolutely nailed it in terms of details. From the eerie foggy swamps to the stunning highlands, every environment was meticulously crafted, offering a visually rich and immersive experience. The level of details in both the landscapes and character models was top-notch, making each area feel alive and packed with atmosphere. Overall, it's a 10 out of 10 for game design and visual fidelity. The GTX 980 holds up incredibly well, proving that even a 10-year-old GPU can still handle modern games quite well, or should I say, beautifully. I'm sorry, but I don't have access to Black Myth Wukong for testing directly. However, I was able to run the benchmark 2 it offers for free. At 1080p low settings with frame generation enabled, we were seeing around 90 to 110 FPS, which is solid performance for the GTX 980. Since this is a benchmark 2, I couldn't test for input lag, but it's safe to say there were no noticeable frame skipping issues during the test. The visuals weren't the best, but they were definitely good enough to provide an immersive experience. It's clear that the game is optimized to offer solid performance even with older hardware like the GTX 980. If you found this useful, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more benchmark tests, and drop a comment on what other games you'd like to see tested with this GPU. After putting the GTX 980 through its paces across a variety of popular games, it's clear this 10-year-old GPU still holds its ground in 2024, especially for those on a budget. From Ghost of Tsushima to Sekiro Shadow Die Twice and even Resident Evil Village, the GTX 980 consistently delivered a solid frame rate with smooth gameplay, providing a great gaming experience even at 1080p resolution. While there were a few minor dips in FPS here and there, especially in more demanding areas, the card proved that it can still handle modern titles with good visuals and performance. Whether you are gaming on a tight budget or just looking to get the most out of an old GPU, the GTX 980 still has plenty to offer for 1080p gaming. If you are considering picking one up for your rig, it's definitely still a viable option for those looking for performance on a budget. So, what do you think? Is the GTX 980 still worth it in 2024? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this test, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more budget gaming benchmarks.